Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, coin enthusiasts and treasure seekers. Today, we're taking a fascinating look at one of America's most popular and widely collected coins, the Washington Quarter Dollar. Specifically, we'll be exploring the 1974 Washington Quarter, a coin that millions of people have handled without giving it much thought. But here's the truth: certain quarters from 1974 with mint marks, under the right conditions, can be worth far more than 25 cents. In fact, by the end of this video, you'll learn how one of these coins reached a jaw-dropping value that will make you want to start checking every quarter in your pocket change. Let's start with some background. The Washington Quarter series began in 1932, originally designed to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Sculptor John Flanagan created the design, which shows a left-facing portrait of America's first president on the obverse, accompanied by the inscriptions, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," with the date just below. The reverse in 1974 still featured the classic heraldic eagle, an eagle with its wings outstretched, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, representing both strength and peace. This design became one of the most recognizable in American coinage, circulating for decades before being replaced by the state quarters program in 1999. The year 1974 sits in an interesting place in U.S. coin history. Just 1 year later, in 1975, the mint began striking the special dual-dated Bicentennial Quarters for America's 200th birthday, which meant no quarters bearing the date 1975 exist at all. This makes the 1974 quarter part of the last group of coins to carry a single-year date before the bicentennial program began. While millions were struck, condition and minting varieties from this year make some coins far more valuable than others. Now, let's talk about mint marks. In 1974, Washington quarters were struck at 3 primary mints. Philadelphia produced coins with no mint mark, Denver struck coins with a D mint mark, and San Francisco created proof coins with the S mint mark. The placement of the mint mark is just to the right of Washington's ponytail, near the ribbon. Most of these coins entered circulation, especially those from Philadelphia and Denver, meaning they quickly picked up scratches, wear, and damage. But pristine examples or coins with unusual features are the ones collectors hunt for today. Condition plays a massive role in determining value. A typical 1974 quarter in average circulated condition might only be worth face value, but when you find one in uncirculated condition, with sharp details, brilliant luster, and minimal contact marks, its value skyrockets. Collectors and grading companies assign these coins grades ranging from MS 60 to MS 70, and the higher the grade, the higher the price. A 1974 quarter graded MS 67 or higher is considered extremely rare and highly desirable, often commanding thousands at auction. Another factor that drives value is minting errors. Mistakes during the striking process can lead to unique varieties, such as double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or even coins struck on the wrong metal. For example, some Washington quarters from the 1970s are known to have dramatic doubling in the lettering or the date, which can make them stand out as one-of-a-kind pieces. Others may have been accidentally struck on leftover planchets from different denominations, creating coins that should not even exist. These errors are incredibly rare and can transform an ordinary quarter into a small fortune. The San Francisco Mint's proof coins also deserve special mention. These coins were struck with extra care, using polished dies and planchets, to create mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. While proof coins were not meant for circulation, they remain an essential part of the collector's market. If you come across a 1974 S-proof quarter in pristine condition, especially if it has cameo or deep cameo contrast, it could carry a significant premium. Now imagine this: you're searching through a jar of old change or maybe flipping through a collection you inherited, and you spot a shiny 1974 quarter. Most people wouldn't think twice about it, but coin collectors know to check for mint marks, condition, and unusual features. That tiny detail could be the difference between a simple 25-cent coin and a rare collectible worth thousands. This is what makes the hunt so exciting. It's like uncovering buried treasure in plain sight. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While common 1974 quarters may not be worth more than face value, there are rare, high-grade examples, especially those with mint marks, proof-like qualities, or dramatic errors, that have fetched incredible sums at auction. One such 1974 Washington quarter, preserved in exceptional condition and prized by collectors, sold for as much as $80,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $80,000 for a single quarter from 1974. Imagine finding one of these coins in your pocket change, tucked away in an old collection, or sitting unnoticed in a coin jar at home. That's the thrill of coin collecting. Everyday coins can hold extraordinary secrets, and sometimes those secrets are worth life-changing money. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most familiar coins in America, the Washington quarter dollar. Specifically, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1981 Washington quarter, a coin that might seem completely ordinary when you first see it, but as collectors know, sometimes the most common-looking coins can hide the biggest surprises. By the end of this video, you'll discover how a coin worth only 25 cents in your pocket could end up being worth tens of thousands of dollars if you've got the right one. So stick with me, because this is going to be an exciting ride through history, design, rarity, and the thrill of hidden value. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932, created to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, it featured Washington's portrait on the obverse, facing left, with the words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," along with the year of issue below. On the reverse, there's the powerful image of the heraldic eagle, wings spread wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, with olive branches below symbolizing peace and strength. This iconic design remained in place for decades, and by 1981 it was still the quarter everyone in America knew so well. Now, 1981 was a very important year for quarters for a couple of reasons. First, the coins were still being struck in the traditional copper-nickel clad composition, an outer layer of copper-nickel bonded to a pure copper core. They weighed 5.67 grams and had the standard reeded edge. But more importantly for collectors, 1981 is one of those years that produced some special varieties, proof coins, and error coins that make this date stand out. It was also just a few years before the launch of the 50-state quarters program that would forever change collecting habits in America. When we talk about mint marks, 1981 is especially interesting. Quarters were struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D, and San Francisco with the S mint mark. The Philadelphia and Denver coins were made for circulation, while the San Francisco mint produced special proof coins for collectors. But here's where things get exciting: the San Francisco proof coins came in 2 different varieties that year. The Type 1 had a filled S mint mark, while the Type 2 had a much clearer, sharper S. Collectors quickly realized that the Type 2 was scarcer, and over the years, that difference in rarity has translated into serious value for the proof coins. Condition, of course, plays a massive role in determining a coin's value. The vast majority of 1981 quarters that were minted in Philadelphia and Denver entered everyday circulation, where they picked up scratches, dings, and wear from decades of use. Those coins, today, are usually worth only their face value. But when a 1981 quarter has been preserved in pristine condition, never touched by human hands, never circulated, with blazing luster and sharp details, it becomes a whole different story. Coins graded at the highest mint state levels, like MS 67 or MS 68, are extremely rare for this date and are highly sought after by serious collectors. Error coins from 1981 are another reason this year is fascinating. Double die obverse varieties, where the lettering or numbers appear doubled, are always popular. Off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned, or coins struck on the wrong planchet, say, a quarter struck on a nickel planchet, can create unique, one-of-a-kind treasures. These minting errors can take a coin from ordinary to extraordinary in terms of value, because they appeal not just to collectors of the series, but also to error coin enthusiasts who are willing to pay top dollar for unusual pieces. Now, let's imagine the journey of one of these coins. A quarter minted in Denver in 1981 might have been used thousands of times over the years, buying snacks, paying for parking meters, or being dropped into arcade machines. Most of those coins are now worn and forgotten. But somewhere, a few coins were set aside early. Maybe they were pulled directly from mint rolls, or included in proof sets, or simply tucked away by someone who noticed they looked just a little bit different. Decades later, those coins reappear, and collectors realize they've stumbled onto something extraordinary. Proof coins, in particular, are worth a closer look. The 1981 S-Type II proof quarter, with its crisp mint mark and deep cameo contrast, is especially prized. These coins were struck with special care, using polished dies and planchets, to create mirror-like surfaces and sharp, frosted details. Finding one in pristine, untouched condition is like holding a piece of art in your hand. What makes all of this so exciting is the possibility. Imagine finding a 1981 quarter in your old change jar, in a coin roll from the bank, or tucked away in a forgotten collection. You might think it's just 25 cents, but with the right mint mark, the right variety, and in the right condition, it could be worth a staggering amount of money. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. While most 1981 quarters in average condition are worth no more than face value, rare examples in top condition, particularly proofs with the Type II S mint mark or exceptional mint state pieces, can command extraordinary prices. In fact, one 1981 Washington quarter has sold for as much as $83,000. That's right, $83,000 for a single quarter that most people would overlook without a second glance. Today we're taking a closer look at a coin that many people have held in their hands without ever realizing the hidden story behind it, the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1977. At first glance, this quarter may look like any other piece of pocket change, but for collectors, the 1977 Washington quarter carries a fascinating history, exciting varieties, and in rare cases, extraordinary value. By the end of this video, you'll learn why this coin deserves your attention and how one version of it reached a price so high, it will make you think twice before ever spending another quarter without checking it carefully. The Washington quarter has a long and respected legacy. First issued in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the design by John Flanagan became one of the most iconic in American coinage. On the obverse, you'll see the familiar left-facing portrait of Washington, framed by the word Liberty at the top, In God We Trust to the side, and the date at the bottom. On the reverse is the majestic heraldic eagle, perched proudly on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath, symbolizing both military strength and peace. This design remained in use for decades, making the Washington quarter one of the most recognizable coins in American history. The year 1977 was not a landmark anniversary for the quarter, but it fell during an important period for American coinage. The nation was still producing quarters in copper-nickel-clad composition, a change that had been made in 1965 when rising silver prices forced the mint to stop producing silver quarters for circulation. By 1977, all quarters were made with a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper-nickel, weighing 5.67 grams with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters. While millions upon millions of 1977 quarters were struck, their value today depends on condition, mint mark, and whether they have unusual features that set them apart. Now let's talk about the mint marks, because this is where collectors start paying attention. In 1977, quarters were struck at three different mints: Philadelphia, which produced coins without a mint mark; Denver, which struck coins with a small D on the obverse just next to Washington's ponytail; and San Francisco, which created proof coins with the S mint mark. Most of the quarters from Philadelphia and Denver entered circulation, where they were tossed into pockets, dropped into vending machines, and rattled around in change jars. Proof coins from San Francisco, however, were specially made for collectors, struck with polished dies to achieve sharp details and mirror-like finishes. Condition is the single most important factor when it comes to the value of a 1977 Washington quarter. A typical circulated example from your pocket change might only be worth face value, but when you find a coin in pristine, mint state condition, the value climbs quickly. Coins graded at MS 65, MS 66, or even higher are rare and sought after, especially for this year. Proof coins that have been well preserved, particularly those with deep cameo contrast between the frosted design and mirror-like fields, also bring strong premiums among collectors, but the real excitement often comes from minting errors and unique varieties. Collectors love coins with doubled dies, where the lettering or date appears doubled due to a misalignment during the minting process. Off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted, or quarters struck on the wrong type of planchet, such as one intended for a different denomination, are especially prized. These error coins are often one-of-a-kind, making them highly desirable and valuable. Think for a moment about the millions of 1977 quarters that have passed through hands in everyday life, used for parking meters, laundromats, pay phones, and countless small purchases. Most of those coins have been worn down, scratched, and forgotten. But somewhere out there, a handful of coins were spared from circulation, tucked away in rolls, sets, or collections, and kept in nearly perfect condition. These are the coins that stand out to collectors today, and these are the coins that can command astonishing prices. What's fascinating about the 1977 Washington quarter is that it sits in an overlooked period of coinage. It wasn't part of a special program like the Bicentennial Quarters of 1975 to 1976, and it wasn't part of the State Quarters series that began in 1999. But precisely because of this, collectors seek out high-quality examples from the late 1970s to fill their sets, making the best-preserved 1977 quarters all the more desirable. Proof coins from San Francisco also deserve special mention. The 1977 S-Proof quarter is a beauty, with mirror-like surfaces that collectors admire. Some of these proof coins display dramatic contrasts, and those examples are highly prized in the numismatic marketplace. Now, picture this. You're going through an old coin jar at home or flipping through rolls of quarters from the bank, and you come across a shiny 1977 quarter. Most people would shrug and toss it back in with the others, but you know better. You'd check for its mint mark, examine its surfaces for brilliance and sharpness, and inspect it carefully for any unusual features. Because if that coin happens to be one of the rarest survivors in mint state perfection or has an unusual error, you could be holding something worth a small fortune. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1977 quarters are worth only their face value, rare examples in exceptional condition, or those with unique varieties, can be worth far more. In fact, one 1977 Washington quarter dollar, preserved in near-perfect condition and highly sought after by collectors, has been valued at an astonishing $89,000. That's right, $89,000 for a single quarter that most people would never think twice about spending. Today, closer look reveal themselves to be treasures worth far more than their face value. One such coin that continues to captivate collectors and history enthusiasts is the United States of America Washington quarter dollar from 1979 with its mint mark. At first, it might look like just another coin that has passed through countless hands, resting quietly in pockets and cash registers across the country. But the truth is, not every 1979 Washington quarter is the same, and certain variations can make this humble 25-cent piece worth a fortune. Let's take a journey into the background of the Washington quarter. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, this coin quickly became more than just a temporary commemorative issue. It replaced the standing Liberty quarter and became a staple in American coinage, a tradition that continues to this very day. By 1979, the quarter had already gone through several design changes, but the portrait of George Washington remained a powerful and iconic symbol. For collectors, every minting year holds its own secrets, and some, like the 1979 issue, have particular traits that make them highly desirable. When looking at a Washington quarter from 1979, you'll want to carefully check for the mint mark, which can usually be found just behind Washington's hair ribbon. The three main mint marks you might encounter are P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. Each mint produced millions of these coins, but not all of them are created equal. Coins struck with exceptional detail, coins with errors, and coins preserved in pristine condition have a much higher chance of being worth serious money today. One of the most important factors that collectors consider is the coin's condition, also known as its grade. A 1979 Washington quarter that has been heavily circulated might only be worth its face value, but one in uncirculated condition, with all the fine details sharp and intact, could be valued dramatically higher. Coins graded by professional services as mint state, especially MS-65 and above, tend to attract the attention of serious collectors and investors. For some, owning such a coin is not only about value, but also about holding a piece of American history that has survived untouched for over 4 decades. Now, what really excites collectors are the error coins. Minting mistakes, while rare, can transform an everyday coin into a jackpot find. For example, double die errors, where the design has been struck twice slightly off alignment, can be highly valuable. Off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or shifted, are also sought after. Even small anomalies like filled mint marks, where dirt or grease obscured part of the mark during minting, can make a coin stand out. For the 1979 Washington Quarter, these errors are the hidden gems that can make a collector's heart race. Another factor that plays a role is the proof coins produced in San Francisco. Proof coins are specially made for collectors, struck on polished blanks with mirrored surfaces and sharp details. If you come across a 1979 proof quarter in flawless condition, you might just be holding something quite valuable. Some proofs even come in special variations, like the Type 1 and Type 2 mint mark differences, which give numismatists even more reasons to hunt these coins. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you handled a quarter without even looking at it closely? Most people pass them along in transactions, unaware that a rare variety or mint condition coin could be sitting in their hand. That's the thrill of coin collecting. It's like a treasure hunt hidden in plain sight, and the 1979 Washington Quarter is a perfect example of how an everyday coin can hold extraordinary value. Collectors all over the world continue to seek out this coin because it represents more than just currency. It's a slice of 1970s America, a piece of metal that has survived through economic changes, cultural shifts, and decades of history. To find one in exceptional condition or with a rare error is like uncovering a time capsule that connects the present with the past. Today, we're turning our attention to one of the most intriguing issues, the United States of America Washington Quarter dollar from 1983 with its mint mark. At first glance, you might think it looks just like the countless quarters that passed through your hands at grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines. But, when you take a closer look, this coin has secrets that could make it worth a staggering amount of money. Let's begin with a little background. The Washington Quarter was first released in 1932, designed to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Sculptor John Flanagan's portrait of the first president was chosen, and over the years, this design became an iconic symbol of American coinage. By 1983, the quarter had already been circulating for over 50 years, and while the design looked familiar, the coins of that time were struck in a very specific context of American history. The early 1980s were not easy years for the U.S. Mint. Just a couple of years earlier, in 1982, no official mint sets were produced, which meant that collectors who wanted high-quality examples of the 1982 and 1983 coins had very limited options. Because of this, finding a Washington Quarter from 1983 in exceptional condition became a real challenge. Millions were struck and released for circulation, but since no mint sets were available, very few pristine examples were saved. Most ended up circulating heavily, getting scratched, worn down, and losing their sharp details. This makes the 1983 Washington Quarter particularly exciting for coin enthusiasts. If you find one that has survived in gem mint state condition, with every detail of Washington's hair, face, and the eagle on the reverse sharp and crisp, you could be holding something truly rare. Mint marks are also very important. On these coins you'll find the mint mark, either P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or in rare cases, S for San Francisco proofs, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Each mint produced its own batch, and certain mint-marked coins are much more desirable when paired with pristine quality. Now let's talk about what really excites collectors: errors and varieties. The 1983 Washington Quarter is famous for one of the most well-known error types in all U.S. coinage, the double die reverse. On some of these quarters, you'll notice doubling on the lettering, particularly on United States of America and E pluribus unum. This doubling makes the coin instantly recognizable to trained eyes and can elevate its value dramatically. Collectors hunt these varieties relentlessly because they are both visually striking and historically significant. Another thing to keep in mind is the absence of uncirculated mint sets for this year. Without those specially prepared sets, most of the 1983 quarters that exist today in great condition had to be pulled from circulation right when they were new, which almost no one did. That's why examples graded by professional services at MS-65 or higher are incredibly hard to come by and highly sought after. The San Francisco Mint also produced proof versions of the 1983 Washington Quarter. These proofs, struck on specially polished blanks with mirror-like surfaces, were sold to collectors directly. If you find one of these proofs still in flawless condition, it can be a valuable piece as well, but the real excitement usually surrounds the circulation strikes in unusually high grades. Imagine the countless hands these coins have passed through since 1983, paychecks being spent, groceries being bought, kids feeding them into arcade machines. It's hard to believe that one of these little pieces of metal could be worth far more than its face value. But for collectors who know what to look for, these coins are treasure hidden in plain sight. Every quarter tells a story, and the 1983 issue tells one of scarcity, history, and potential riches. Think about the odds for a moment. Millions of 1983 Washington quarters exist, but the vast majority are scratched, tarnished, and circulated beyond the point of collectability. Only a tiny fraction remain in gem mint state. Fewer still carry errors like the famous double die. And it is those tiny fractions, the rare survivors, that bring life-changing values when they appear at auction. That's why coin hunters today always keep a sharp eye on their pocket change. Even now, decades later, a Washington quarter from 1983 might slip into circulation. Someone might unknowingly spend it for 25 cents, never realizing its true worth. But to the collector who knows what to look for, that same coin could represent the find of a lifetime. So the next time you're handed a handful of coins as change, don't overlook the quarters. Flip them over, study the year, and look for that 1983 date with its mint mark. Examine the details carefully, and you might just uncover one of the great treasures of modern coinage. And speaking of treasure, the most valuable Washington quarter dollar from 1983 with a mint mark ever discovered reached an unbelievable auction price of $96,000.